Hi and welcome back to Tales from Tech Support, /I don't work here lady. In today's episode, talk to my boss. I'm not in middle school. I'm 23. I'm working, but not here. Guy thought I was a career advisor, but I just like dinosaurs. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Talk to my boss. This happened last weekend. While I was only involved from the sidelines, I may have started it unintentionally, I was there through the whole thing. The cast, me, Tall Guy, and Karen. I went to my local blue big box store to pick up a few grocery items. Not a big trip, but it had to be done. Now, I'm a short woman, 4 feet 11 inches. And it never ceases to amaze me that most of the things that I want or need are always on a top shelf designed for people who are at least 5 feet 10 inches from my limited point of view. The only way that I can reach these items is if I have something long enough to rake it off the top shelf, or I use the shelves as a climbing wall. Considering that I am not a lightweight by any stretch of the imagination, I don't try climbing in favor of keeping the shelves upright. I swung down an aisle and found what I was looking for on the top shelf. Since the item was in a glass bottle, raking it off the shelf seemed like a disaster waiting to happen. I stood there for several minutes trying to decide if this was something I could do without when I spotted a very tall guy. Tall Guy had his own shopping cart, was not dressed like a store employee, jeans, black button-up shirt, and no blue vest, and was looking at his shopping list. My interest was in the fact that he was towering at around 6 feet 3 inches. I approached him. I'm sorry to bother you. Tall Guy had this look on his face like he's ready to say I don't work here, lady. Tall Guy, yes? I tried making myself as meek and apologetic as I could so that he didn't think he had encountered one of those people. Can I borrow your height to help me get something off the top shelf? Tall Guy grinned, nodded, and asked what he could get for me. I pointed at the item and without so much as a struggle, he retrieved it. I smiled politely and thanked him profusely for helping me. I put the item in my cart and he started to walk away. Then she made her presence known. She was about 5 feet 4 inches and had on heels that were easily 4 to 5 inches high, around 45 years old, pudgy rolls around the middle, and wore a blue sparkly dress that was at least 3 sizes too small and so short if she took a deep breath, we'd all get a view of her belly button. She honestly looked like she was going to nightclub, not grocery shopping 1:30 in the afternoon. Karen, now that you are finished with her, she said this while looking down at me as if I smelled like a week-old fish, you can get these for me. Karen attempted to hand Tall Guy her shopping list, but he put his hands up and backed up a bit. Tall Guy, I don't work here. I was only helping get something dash. Karen, exactly. You helped her, and now you'll help me. I swear she batted her eyelashes at him. Tall Guy, no. I helped her and now I am going to finish my own shopping. Karen rolled her eyes and tried to shove her list at him. I'm not stupid. Of course, you work here. Why else would you? Again she scrunched her face in disgust at me, help her. Tall Guy, do you really believe that people who work for a living are only working to serve you? Karen couldn't decide if she should nod or shake her head. I could almost hear the gears in her brain strain for a response. Karen, it's your job to do what I tell you to do. Tall Guy, no, it's my job to do what my boss tells me to do. And not once in 14 years has my boss ever told me I had to do your shopping. Karen, oh, yes, it's your job. You work here, so you work for me, and I am telling you to get these items on my list. Now. Tall Guy stepped closer to her, reached in his shirt pocket where he had his white clerical collar, snapped it on, and plastered on the biggest grin in that case, you need to get down on your knees and talk to my boss. I think the two of you have plenty to discuss. Karen's face went deathly white. She ran. Took very fast shuffling steps out of the aisle. I just stood there with my mouth open. Tall guy removed the clerical collar and tucked it back in his shirt pocket. Tall guy saw my amazement and adoration of what he'd just done and grinned. "Oh, don't look so impressed. I'm not clergy. I do improv comedy with a small social group of friends." He patted his shirt pocket. "This week's theme is church. I just came to get snacks on my way there." Me, now, I'm more impressed. I so want to be like you when I grow up. Tall guy and I parted ways, and I didn't see him or Karen again. For some reason, however, I have this strange desire to watch stand-up comedy on TV. I'm not in middle school. I'm 23. This happened 2.5 years ago when I was 23. I was still in college and had a part-time job through my university as a tutor in a middle school. I worked with kids during the school day. It wasn't an after-school program, so there were always teachers/staff patrolling the hallways to check for hall passes. Most of them recognized me and realized I was a tutor, not a student, though many had asked to see my hall pass before this incident. To be fair, I'm 5 feet 0 inches and weigh 95 pounds. Many, if not most, of the 7th/8th graders were bigger than me, and I can see how I might blend in if you failed to notice my tattoos and face that screams exhausted, hungover college student. One particular day I arrived while the kids were changing classes. There were specific paths they were supposed to take so that each hallway only had kids going in one direction to avoid traffic jams, as the hallway posters called it. In order to assert myself as the grown woman I was, I walked the wrong way. Otherwise it would have taken me about 5 extra minutes to get to where I needed to be. I swiftly moved my way through the crowd, low-key intimidated by the hormonal, acne-ridden 6 feet 0 inches middle schoolers towering above me, wishing I wasn't wearing leggings and a t-shirt like all of the other students. I was turning the corner and almost to the class when an elderly teacher grabs me by the shoulders and physically turns my body around to walk the other way. I'll call her DET, deteriorating elderly teacher. "Det, what do you think you're doing? You need to follow the arrows. How confusing is it for you?" Me, "Oh sorry ma'am, you don't understand. I." DET, "Do not talk back to me, I don't want to hear it." She turns my body the other way yet again. "Goodbye." She was scary enough that I strongly considered walking the way she wanted me to go when I suddenly remembered I was 23 and couldn't get in trouble at a middle school. I turned back around. Me, I am just trying to. DET, you have one last chance before I take you to the principal for this disrespect. Me, I. That's it. She proceeds to grasp my arm with her frail elderly hands and lead me to the principal's office. At this point students were taking notice, and for the first time in 10 years I felt like an embarrassed 13-year-old. I saw one of my students, a 7th grade girl, laughing uncontrollably, and she said, "Don't worry miss, my name, I'll tell everyone you got taken to the principal." I thought DET might have heard this, but she was very elderly, so she didn't. I shake her hand off of my shoulder and turn to face her, trying to look as grown-up as possible, even sliding my sleeve up so she may see my tattoos. "Me lady, with all due respect, I am tutor here. I'm not in middle school. I'm 23. Please, I am going to be late for my work and you're wasting both of our time by taking me to the principal." It finally sinks into DET that I am not, in fact, a student here. I see her eyes glancing down at my tattoo, then slowly rising back to my face. DET, oh my. Why didn't you say something? I am so sorry, it's chaotic in here, and you look very young. Please forgive me. Me, it's fine, but you didn't really give me a chance to speak up. I hope you give the kids a chance to speak up before grasping them and taking them to the office. You decrepit old bitch, I bet all the students despise you, rightfully so. Okay fine, I didn't say that last part, but I deeply regret not doing so to this day. After this occasion I tried a little harder to look my age while tutoring, and my 7th grade student never let me or anyone else forget this happened. I'm working, but not here. Some background: I'm currently a PA for a TV show. Which means I do everything asked of me, and a lot of times, that means grocery shopping for the office. The cast in today's adventure: me, M23, NL Nice Lady, CG Confused Gentleman, and, of course, Karen. Now, I'm an office PA, so I dress a tiny bit nicer than if I was running around on set. Today's outfit was a collared button-down, jeans, and an old Star Wars pullover sweater because it was chilly, and a lanyard with my lot badge around my neck. My boss sent me to a grocery store that rhymes with Jader Toes and handed me a list of hyper-specific salads, wraps, and other goodies for the office staff to eat. Boss also tells me the salads with later expiration dates are way in the back. Make sure you grab those, trans Superboy. Like a good PA, I nod and dash out to my car to head to Jader Toes. Once in the store, I pop in my AirPods to listen to a podcast while shopping and start hunting for these hyper-specific items. I have a list in my hand, am crouched down, and sticking my arm way back under the shelves to grab the salads with the further off expiration dates, when a nice lady, NL, approaches me and asks if I work there. I apologize and say no, sorry, and she is polite, apologizes, and says she wasn't sure, but it kind of looked like I was stalking/moving things around. I say no worries and she heads on her way. A couple seconds later, as I'm loading extremely specific salads with extremely specific dates on them into my cart, an older confused gentleman, CG, approaches and asks if I know where some greens are. I tell him no, sorry, I don't work here, and he says, oh, I thought you just helped her. NL was still nearby and jumps to help both of us with a nope. I asked him if he worked here, he doesn't. CG looked like he didn't believe me and looked at my cart. I explained I was a PA on the nearby studio lot and was just shopping for work. He seemed to finally understand, but then turned to NL to ask her if she knew where his greens were. I laughed and continued on my way, AirPods in my ears, when I hear over the din of my podcast, "Hey, you! Excuse me!" My butt cheeks clenched in fear. Reddit. I look up from my shopping list and am greeted with a grade A, right out the stereotype factory, LA Karen. Where's the egg rolls? No hello, no do you work here, nothing. Just pure Karen. I don't work here. Yes you do, I just saw you help those people. Nope, they also asked if I work here and I told them no. You look like you work here. Where's the egg rolls? She was blocking my cart at this point. I don't work here, so I don't know. Sorry. I don't know if this woman didn't believe me, didn't listen, or just straight up wanted to waste my and her own time, but she once again asked me about her god dang egg rolls, and the I don't know exchange repeated. Finally, she started getting mad. I thought she was going to ask for my manager, but instead she literally stomped her foot and goes, "Why do you look like you work here if you don't work here? You're wearing a badge." I wanted to question what about a Star Wars hoodie, Critical Role lanyard, and a work badge for the TV studio down the street screamed I work at Jader Toes, but I didn't. I was too dumbfounded. I'm a PA. I am working. But not here. Finally, an employee came down the aisle and Karen set her sights on him. "Do you work here?" she asks the guy wearing a Jader Toes t-shirt, pushing a backroom stock cart of boxes and wearing a name tag. He nods and Karen once again points at me. "You shouldn't let people in here who look like they work here if they don't work here." Me and this poor employee share the pained, dead inside look of two people who have had to work with the public. I hope my look came across as apologetic as I felt, but I used this chance to escape and finish up my shopping as quickly as I could. In my line of work I'm no stranger to very dumb questions and being yelled at, but even Karens make me want to tuck tail and run. I missed a few items off the shopping list, and will probably be sent back to Jader Toes before this workday is done, but I'll be sure to not look like I work there for any future visits. Karen, wherever you are, I hope you never found your egg rolls. Guy thought I was a career advisor, but I just like dinosaurs. When I was in community college, there was a conference held in our state capital for all the cohorts in our accelerated Gen Ed program to come together, meet the school's president, and explore future job opportunities. I had been pretty excited for the event, had a nice sport jacket on, but I was feeling a little insecure because most students weren't as dressed up as I was. I don't like standing out in a crowd. To make matters worse, the rest of my cohort had pretty much abandoned me. They said we would meet at one of the stations to listen to an event speaker together, so I sat in the front row where there were plenty of empty seats around me for them to sit in. Only one of my classmates showed up, and he sat as far away from me as possible, which I honestly didn't mind because he had horrible hygiene and stank. If I wasn't already feeling conspicuous, the speaker said, "It's loud in here, guys. Will everyone move up front so we can hear each other?" Everyone moved up to fill in all the seats closer to the stage, all except for the chairs close to me. I was sticking out like a parrot in a chicken coop at this point. The speaker asked everyone what they'd like to do with their transfer degrees once we graduate. Spoiler alert, I have done nothing with mine so far. I didn't say anything for two reasons. One, the last thing I wanted to do was bring more attention to myself, and second, I didn't know. Looking back at these details, I can see why this guy got confused. Anyway, people were raising their hands and calling out what they'd like to major in university. Someone behind me shouted out, "Paleontology." My ears perked up. I was caught between a few different ideas: writing, teaching, music, but a huge part of me dreamed of going into that field. I have been obsessed with dinosaurs since I was about 9. I figured I should talk to him after the speech and see if he had found a good university for pursuing that major. My insecurity had turned to excitement by now, so I didn't even mind that I was drawing attention when I turned around at the end of the speech and asked, "Who said paleontology?" A guy my age jumped up and said, "Me." He came up to me and shook my hand. His name tag showed he shared a name with my celebrity crush, but they didn't share the looks, unfortunately for him. I won't go into detail for the sake of respect, but bottom line was I didn't find him attractive in the least. That's relevant, I promise. He seemed a little nervous, but I didn't know why. I just figured maybe he was a nervous person. We hit it off really well. He also wanted to go into paleontology because of his love for dinosaurs. He didn't have a whole lot of solid plans for how he would pursue it either, so that was a little disappointing, but he was interesting to talk to nonetheless. It was a relief to have someone to walk around the event with since my classmates were excluding me. We talked about our favorite dinosaurs. Mine is the Parasaurolophus, in case you were wondering, and even exchanged numbers. After a while, he stopped and said, "Wait, you're just one of the students? I thought you were a career advisor or something." I just laughed out of confusion. "No. I'm just as clueless as you are about all this." "I'm sorry, that must be disappointing." He said that it was fine. I told him I thought it was hilarious because normally I'm mistaken for someone's little sister or something since I'm short and have a baby face. He said that gets that because he was short and had a baby face too. The short part was true. He was even shorter than I am, and I'm 5 feet 1 inch, 155 centimeters. Now, I kind of wish we had ended our conversation before he figured out I was only a student, because from that moment on he was smitten with me. As single as I was, and as much as I, platonically, enjoyed the exchanges we'd had so far, I didn't want to give him the wrong impression, so I started acting a little more distant. I tracked down my class and started talking more with them instead. It didn't deter him. He followed me around the rest of the day, brought his chair over to our table, and whenever I walked anywhere, he was standing right behind me. The other ladies in my cohort thought it was hilarious and a little weird. As soon as we left the event, he started texting me. We did end up talking for a few weeks following the event, but eventually I think he figured out I wasn't his type, and things died down. Overall though, I think it's a happy ending. We still follow each other on Instagram. The only paleontology program we really considered was one in Texas, I think, but neither of us were willing to leave our home state because of family. We're both content with just being giant dinosaur nerds instead of dinosaur experts.